The Silent Echoes. Chapter 1. Homecoming. I stepped out of the car and onto the familiar soil, my heart racing in a mix of excitement and trepidation. Willow Creek hadn't changed much since I left. The old oak trees still stood guard along Main Street, their gnarled branches reaching towards the sky like skeletal fingers, and the faint scent of freshly cut grass filled the air. Yet, there was an unsettling quiet that permeated the atmosphere, a palpable stillness that made my skin prickle with unease. It had been 5 years since I'd returned home after college, seeking solace from the turmoil in my life. Solace, it seemed, would elude me. The silence was deafening, as if the town itself held its breath, waiting for me. Walking up the crumbling walkway to our old house, a sense of nostalgia washed over me. The paint had weathered and faded like my dreams, but the porch creaked under my weight just as it always did, comforting in its familiarity. As I entered, a chill seeped into my bones, despite the warmth of summer evening. Shadows danced across walls where moonlight poked through gaps in the curtains. Memories long forgotten whispered at the edges of consciousness, awakening with each step. Laughter shared on that floor, tears shed beneath those same eaves. The air held secrets, both comforting and menacing. I settled into my old room, the smell of dust mingling with memories of youth. Moonlight cast eerie silhouettes through the window. I just closed my eyes when a strange creak echoed from downstairs, too low for the house to produce such a sound on its own. My pulse quickened as shadows flickered along the walls in my periphery, making me jerk upright. Sane people don't believe in ghosts. Still, they can't ignore the fear that grips them. Shaking it off as exhaustion, I lay back and listened for more sounds. The house settled into its usual rhythms, floorboards groaning with each gust of wind, and the occasional hoot from an owl outside. I was startled by a muffled thud from downstairs, a door opening and closing. I sprang up, heart pounding. Faint whispers drifted through the gap beneath my door, carrying no discernible words. Curiosity piqued, I crept towards it. Shadows lengthened as I descended to find the front door open, standing ajar like an invitation. Stepping outside into the moonlight, the whispering ceased. An unsettling hush fell over me. A rustling in the nearby bushes sent my breath catching. Leaves or something. As I turned to retreat, a shadowy form darted at the corner of my vision, vanishing behind the ancient oak tree where kids used to play hide and to seek. My imagination played tricks on me, or so I told myself. Days passed with nothing out of the ordinary. A routine established itself. Work at the local diner by day, quiet evenings reading in solitude by night. Then, night two brought back those eerie noises again. A scratching, scuttling from upstairs where my sister had once kept her room, now empty and still. Footsteps, light yet deliberate, echoed above me, accompanied by the occasional thump that made the floorboards shudder. I'd had enough of these nocturnal hallucinations. Flickering on a flashlight as I climbed the stairs revealed nothing but darkness. The scratching intensified. Something moved in my sister's room. A presence, watching from within. Inching towards it, fear thickened my saliva. A shadow darted across the bed. Human? My pulse roared in my ears. With trembling hands, I parted the curtains. A figure huddled there back to me. Tension constricted my chest as I reached for the door handle. It swung open with an ominous creak. An unmistakable scent of decay and old books enveloped me, like something from another world. A lone silhouette, shrouded by the darkness, slowly turned to face me. A gaunt figure in tattered clothes and sunken eyes that didn't mirror mine. I froze as they recognized me too, then bolted out of sight with an unnatural speed into the night. The door slammed shut behind them. Breath caught in my throat. I leaned against the door frame, heart hammering. It was impossible, yet unmistakable. A faint whisper echoed, "Alex." That name only belonged to one person here. I glanced around, but saw no sign of life. Who could this specter be? The night air felt charged with an unseen presence, watching me through unseen eyes. Over the following nights, the silhouette would reappear in various spots, lingering by my car window at dusk, a fleeting figure along Main Street after dark, their gaze locked on mine before vanishing. Those sunken eyes haunted me. One morning, as I sipped coffee on the porch, it settled beside me. The same hollowed cheeks and tattered clothes. "Alex." The voice was almost inaudible, but unmistakable. No response came from my gaping mouth. Its form leaned closer, offering a bony hand. Shaking hands with bony fingers sent shivers down my spine. I'd been away too long. Paranoia had taken residence in this place. "I've seen you." The figure tilted its head, eyes aglow with an unblinking intensity that made skin crawl. "You saw me." Its voice rasped like dry leaves on gravel. I retreated into the house as it followed, a silent specter against the night's shadows. Once inside, I leaned against the door, listening. There was more than one set of footsteps now. My gut twisted into knots. Who or what? Inching along the wall to my room, the door slammed shut behind me like before. Darkness and the weight of an invisible presence bore down. Sun-kissed photographs adorned the walls, smiling faces staring back with silent judgment. My gaze drifted to Sarah's picture. The figure appeared there too, her once bright eyes now sunken like it. A chill swept over my spine as they beckoned me forward, fingers curled in a claw like claws. Each step felt heavy under a weight of unseen specters. Drawing closer, I noticed an unmistakable black duster and wide-brimmed hat. Sarah's old attire? In the room, she motioned to her childhood desk where a journal lay open. It was time for answers. Fumbling with trembling hands, I opened it, scrawled in red ink. "They're watching you." The final sentence seemed written in blood. My mind conjured up too much horror from city life. This was Willow Creek after all. A strange calm settled over me as I read on, each entry detailing encounters with an unseen entity that had haunted her teenage years. A watcher, she named it. The last pages spoke of something else, a presence watching and waiting. Shadows danced around us both before sliding into the night like a ghostly mist. Outside, Sarah stood with eyes I'd never seen before, as if death itself held them captive. Her voice crackled from the depths of her throat. "You're back. It's been waiting." Chapter 2. The Watcher. Sarah was different now. Pale skin, haunted by 1,000 secrets she refused to speak. At work, tales of the Watcher resurfaced. A figure draped in tattered clothes and a wide-brimmed hat. Sarah's old attire, but not her. Rumors had always swirled about an otherworldly being that drew you away. Tightly grasping each other on the backless porch steps, we spoke of long nights huddled by candlelight under moonlight. Tales passed down through generations. The Watcher wasn't myth. It was a harbinger. Sarah's voice dropped to a raspy whisper as if sharing secrets from beyond life. In the night, there's more than one thing that can take you. In the diner's kitchen, the back door juddered open with an eerie squeak. One figure, tall and gaunt with a black hat, but not Sarah anymore. It spoke in her voice, yet bore no resemblance. "What do they want?" Sarah asked for the first time since I'd returned. The watchman, it seemed, chose me next. Days blurred into nights. I witnessed things that defied understanding. Glowing orbs trailing me through alleys, a hooded figure hunched under the bridge at dusk. Each step felt tracked by an unblinking stare. A hand's width from my chest. The mist, dot-like form halted, eyes aglow. Sarah whispered, "Run." Those eyes flashed red, an unnatural light illuminating her face. Something inhuman stared at us as I edged past. Each night, the watcher drew closer under moonlight, eyes burning a sickly green, until we were shoulder to shoulder. Sarah whispered of its hunger now for me. It followed us home, huddled at the back door like death's herald. She spoke little of the night. I could see it in her eyes. Fear, dread, and an unseen weight that drove her to sleep with a loaded pistol. "Sis," she said finally as I entered our room, gun still clutched tight. An unearthly wind brushed past us both before the watcher loomed tall, no longer hunched, yet didn't intrude. "We can run, or you can face it." As if an unseen force nudged me forward with inhuman strength, we crept across the floor to the attic trunk where Sarah's old clothes remained. Underneath lay my name scrawled in red ink. Alex. An otherworldly presence stirred as I dressed by moonlight. Outside, the watcher waited below. Sarah pressed the gun barrel against her temple. "The choice is yours." In the night's embrace, we fled to distant woods with only a flashlight guiding us through mist. My sister stumbled in unshed tears and dread, begging me not to leave, but I had to face this thing alone once the watcher claimed her too. The tree stood at last, where secrets died under an old oak. Sarah leaned against it, gun trembling. "Tell me," she breathed between shudders, "the things you've done in your city life." My stories weren't nearly as dark as hers. The night felt alive with unseen eyes, watching as we spoke of lovers' pacts and ancient rituals that should have stayed buried. The watcher loomed behind me. I could feel its gaze. In the darkness, a final entry from Sarah's past. I saw hell. One look at her face told me what she'd become. An echo of myself. Leave now. But we had to know why it chose us. Tainted by something. The journal fell from my hands, and I grabbed for the gun as it lay on the ground beside me. Sarah's eyes were no longer there. They had succumbed long ago. Chapter 3. Unseen Eyes. In the attic trunk, a tattered black duster awaited. Worn by what? On night 4. Our skin glistened with dew as the watcher led us deeper into woods it once haunted. We walked past ancient oaks and to an overgrown grave marked by Sarah's name, only her face staring back from its resting place. "The watcher has chosen you." The words in the dirt were written by something older than death itself. It waited where darkness reigned as we stood side by side, a silent sentinel watching us with unblinking eyes. We'd faced our demon together, but I was next, and there was no escape. I gripped that gun hard enough to mangle bone, backing away from a formless, hooded silhouette in the shadows behind Sarah's name. It spoke for first time, a raspy voice like dry leaves. "Sister." In my hand a trigger waited, but so did something ancient. Unblinking eyes met mine now. "What is this thing?" Her voice was barely audible over our ragged breaths. An unseen force pulled me forward as she slid the duster onto my frame, wrapping a tattered hat around my face and pulling it low over my eyes. I donned Sarah's lifeblood that stained clothes. "Sis," now in red ink on the chest. The watcher was us both now. Underneath those shadows, its form materialized as the wind picked up and rain began to fall. In the silent void, her voice whispered before she fell to the ground, "Run." I ran through mist, but there was no escape from an evil that had chosen me. I'd fled with the Watcher in tow, clothes stained red beneath my feet. Only I could not look away. My eyes were its own now, as if staring into hell's abyss. A shadow moved before a flickering light reflected off my face, and I was the last living soul to see her go under it, knowing full well that the Watcher had claimed another. As days passed by without word from home, I knew its hunger was insatiable now, and no grave could hold me forever. In their place, a mannequin adorned my head, the Watcher's sis. Each night, it watched with eyes alight as I donned her lifeblood.